Hello everyone, welcome to the ESPN Halftime Show. It's day 5 of the ICC Champions Trophy, and today lots of things to discuss. Breaking news out of London as Dinesh Ramdin, the West Indies wicketkeeper, has been fined 100% of his match fee and has been banned for the next 2 one-day internationals for that incident, infamous incident you could say, against Pakistan in their first game of the ICC Champions Trophy. Barry Wilkinson here, with me Ricardo Powell. Before we look at what has happened today so far with Pakistan and South Africa, this is indeed one that everyone is talking about on Twitter around the world. What are your thoughts about it?
Pretty much a talk of the town. I mean, when you look at it, I feel it was a bit harsh, but in hindsight, based on what happened in terms of Ramdin pleading not guilty, that really affected him in terms of the decision from the umpire and ICC.
Let's have a look at the incident, though. We're going to take you back to the game on Friday. It was West Indies versus Pakistan. Kemar Roach was bowling. He was bowling to Misbah, who was the captain. The score was 17 for 3. The ball was clearly edged. That was not the problem. This was the big issue. Caught, no, yes, maybe so. Ramdin claimed it. The ball not in his grasp. He wasn't in control. And though he still claimed it, the umpires on a look said no, it was not clean. This is what Ramdin punished. Chris Broad, the ICC match referee, said this is regarded as a serious offence, as it is the responsibility of all players to act in the spirit of the game. I hope Mr. Ramdin has learnt his lesson from this incident and that we will not see such behaviour by him or any player in the future. So that was what Chris Broad said to Ramdin being punished today. That happened about, what, just a couple hours ago. It's been the biggest news on Facebook, the biggest news on Twitter, and everyone has been discussing it. Mr. Powell, you are saying it's too harsh.
It is really over the top, Barry, when you look at it. But he was used as an example to other players that never ever do something like this again. And when I said early on in the game about Ramdin being not necessarily eating humble pie and saying that, listen me, I'm guilty, the ball came out of my gloves. If he had said an apology and plead not guilty and plead guilty to the offence in terms of going to this so-called trial that they had, he would have probably gotten away maybe 100% match fee and then move on from there. But plead not guilty, especially when you have camera and video analysis to show that the ball obviously came out of your gloves, and not accepting that, ICC really gave him the maximum penalty.
Well, just to be clear, he's been found guilty of conduct contrary to the spirit of the game. Now, this offence that he had doesn't relate to what we saw last year when he held up the sign saying, look, Viv, talk. No. But do you think that would have come into context where that was also a breach that he got into some trouble for?
Most definitely. I mean, offence back then and having one now both go hand in hand, because it's the same governing body in terms of ICC. And when something like that happens, they always look back at those things, at the fact that this is not your first time you're actually in disrepute of the game. So Ramdin have some part to play in this, and he have to really accept his decision and move forward and never let something like this happen again.
The immediate questions will come. Who will then keep for the West Indies tomorrow when they face India in a pretty big game, because it's a game of 2 unbeaten sides?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very tough decision in terms of the West Indies team. It's a big loss for them. Maybe Johnson Charles, who have done some keeping for the Windward Islands in the past as well. But when you look at the experience attack that the West Indies cricket team have right now in terms of a spinner like a Sunil Narine and stuff like that, yeah, the question is going to come up, how is he going to manage against Sunil Narine keeping? So that is going to affect the West Indies psyche in terms of when they go on, maybe how Sunil bowl, how fast Kemar Roach is going to run in, etc. So I'm hoping that maybe, I mean, he will step up to the plate and really accept this position and wait until Ramdin comes back.
Well, looking at the makeup of the team, the other option would be Darren Bravo, but that will be the second option. Charles, I think, will be the immediate option. That's what they will do. The question is now, Darren Sammy or Tino Best, because they're the likely 2 who will come in at the expense of Dinesh Ramdin.
I mean, based on the experience of the West Indies stock right now, I mean, the batting to me is very strong, even though they didn't perform very well in the first game. The Indian team is not the kind of team that like harsh fast bowling.
Correct.
And when you have someone like a Kamara Roach up front, bowling the way he is, I would look to probably introduce someone like a Tina Best on the other hand with a Ravi Rampal. 3-pace attack, I mean, it could benefit the West Indies team. But if they're the normal way the coach and the management go about West Indies selection, they probably look at Darren Sammy to strengthen their batting.
Well, if the batting is strengthened, Sammy still does give you the option to bowl. It's just not going to be a penetrative attack.
Yeah, it would not be the kind of pace attack that you would want against India, but I said it will strengthen your batting, and maybe Sammy is probably looking forward to that game as well. But I would probably go with a Tina Best, just get that extra pace attack against India.
You look at the pitch. The pitch has been playing pretty good at the Oval, and the West Indies continue a very good record there. Overall, will the West Indies start as favourites against the Indians?
I think it's going to be a very evenly poised game based on the performance of the Indian team in terms of getting 300-plus runs. I mean, they're batting well, they're feeling well, their bowling is pretty much okay. West Indies, yes, have a win under their belt, but this is going to be a different game. And I think it's going to be an evenly poised game. It's a matter of who put runs on the board and who are able to defend it.
So who will keep, who will play? A look at the head-to-head record between West Indies and India. The day that Dinesh Ramdin, their first string and only keeper, has been banned for 2 matches. Overall, the West Indies, since 2001, their record is not very strong against India, but overall, it is just a bit better. In England, it's pretty much tied, and these are 2 teams who play well when they have won internationals. And when India are playing, they don't tend to play as well against the West Indies overseas, and that is the biggest thing. Yeah,
I mean, playing overseas for both teams, their record have not necessarily been the best, and as you can see by them playing in England, is that both teams are pretty much evenly poised going into this game. So it will be a very interesting game. I know it will be a highly watched game and anticipated game, but for West Indies, I mean, based on the result of the game today against South Africa and Pakistan, West Indies will be hoping that Pakistan lose and then winning that game and going through, and not necessarily having the pressure of someone like a Charles coming under that pressure if he's keeping. Yeah. I'm sure right now he might be going through a few drills in the nets.
I think they started going through drills since Friday night.
Yeah.
Probably into Saturday morning, because I think they would kind of expected this kind of a ramification. All right, well, West Indies, India, they play tomorrow morning, and that's going to be a pretty big game. We'll have it live for you here on ESPN. Starts at 5 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time. The ESPN halftime show continues. When we come back, we'll look at what happened just now with South Africa against Pakistan on day 5 of the ICC Champions Trophy in England and Wales. But first, you're watching the ESPN halftime show.
Look how deep that